you're in.
Good evening. Good evening. TC, how you feeling, buddy?
I feel great. Yeah, I feel awesome.
To another Off the Lip radio show here tonight, our 1028th show. Wow.
Do we golf clap that?
Tonight's guest, we're going back to our original plan, TC. Just surf and skate.
I love this switch. Yeah, it's great.
Just go right back to basics. And who better to do that with than the guy that surfs and skates since, 19, goodness, God knows how long. Long time. Is he legendary status, TC? Is he?
We're
go by how many marriages? Or?
yeah. It's based on battle scars.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What, the divorces?
Yeah.
No. See, if you surf, you start surfing when you're young and you get married, you end up getting divorced. So it's kind of funny.
How's that been a good divorce?
There is no good divorce, unfortunately.
Anyway, tonight, live at the Off the Lip show, Mr. Michael Castro is our guest tonight.
Welcome to the show, Michael.
Talked about it.
Thank you.
We've talked about it for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Come on the show. Never happened. Happening right here tonight.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
We're going to be starting in
78 for me. Yeah. I started skating in the mid-70s.
Where?
Winchester, Campbell.
I'm going to get a microphone, TC.
Why? Oh no! I'll go over.
This is a long time ago. And then,
do you still have a Winchester skate park membership card?
Oh God, no.
I wish I would have kept mine.
See, I broke my arm in the Pink Bowl at Winchester, and then that was that for me. I didn't really go back and skate after that. That was probably like 78, maybe. And then,
78. Yep.
And then I skated around town. Then it became half pipes, and that's when Caballero had his half pipe, and everybody was doing that, and it was like a big deal. And my buddy and I built one in the back of his yard, and we skated out for a little while, and then until I kept falling on my broken arm, and then we just kind of it just evolved right into surfing. It's like I started, I tore apart roller skates, right? Like we do when we're like kids, and we're like, oh, I can do this, right? And you put it on a 2x6, and you cut the little thing off, and you think you got something until you hit like a freaking crack in the road, and you face plant. That was pretty much what it was like for me.
Well, it's funny because you and I are the same age, and we skated the same places, and they went away. And for me, when the parks closed, I lived on 36th Avenue. It was all about surfing. And we didn't have a skate park. The streets suck.
Yeah.
We don't even have sidewalks in Pleasure Point. And so it just turned into pure surfing. That sounds like we were on the same path.
It went for me, I was, unfortunately, I was raised on the other side of the hill. And my family is born and raised in Wattsville. So my parents were divorced young. And so that was my outlet for me. Skating, surfing, getting away from my parents, fighting, getting away from that scene. And so I just would disappear. And so when they divorced, I went with my dad. And unfortunately, my dad, he didn't know how to raise me, right? He's 30. He was young. He was young. He's 20 years younger than me. So at that time, he was like, oh, I'm single, and I got fucking, 6-year-old, 8-year-old, or 9-year-old, whatever I was back then. And so he would just leave me alone and go party. And so, eventually what ended up happening is I just went and lived with my grandma in Watsonville. And I would just hang out with her. And then pretty much my grandma, my aunts and uncles raised me. That was the deal. We'd get up early and go pick strawberries, and then I'd get my tough skins, and then I'd go get my skateboard, jump on the bus, and I would go skate when SoCal opened up. And so eventually what ended up happening is we ended up moving back. My dad moved to Cupertino, and then we moved back to South San Jose. And I would spend all my summers and my weekends and everything at my grandma's. So that's when I ran and played, with my aunts and some surf, Manresa and Pajaro Dunes and stuff. And what ended up happening for me is we would surf, and I started in high school in 78, and we started really surfing much more than, and back then in that part of the world, not in Santa Cruz so much, there wasn't a whole lot of surfers. It was
down there, beaches?
Well, not so much even in the beaches. I mean, you had old school guys back there, Birdman and a few other really good kneeboarders. I'm talking, I can't remember his name now.
Pat Quigley?
Well, there's one for sure. No,
John Mel.
John Mel too.
La Selva Beach local
La
back
Selva
then.
back then, yeah. And then the other guys out of Watsonville too, and Cole Crofts back then when he had a shop down in La Selva, and and then we started surfing all the time. And I remember we used to cut school on Wednesdays. Wednesdays was the only day that this one guy had a car, was off from work, and so we'd just jump in there. We cut school, and I'd have my friends write me a note because my dad was out of the picture for the most part. Yeah. So I would just write my own shit, and my girl or whoever it was, cheerleader, whatever she was doing, would sign it, and that'd be done. And I'd get my own card and go surfing for the day. And fortunately for us, go ahead.
Was that when you went to 4 Mile with one wetsuit?
Oh, we had
Share wetsuit.
We had it. It was three of us guys, and we're still friends today. Well, we have Michael Fox, another old school guy from here, but we're all still we still talk. You know, we haven't seen each other really in a little while, but we used to go to form with Kent Buell, may he rest in peace. Him and Mike. Kent Blue and Mike Buell both surfed back in the 60s and lived on the west side. And they were big time surfers, and we'd go to their house was in Cupertino. We'd go there, and basically Saturday night was, unfortunately back that day it was we were fucking partying, dropping acid and doing drugs, and then we'd get up in the morning or whatever, and then end up going surfing on Sunday. We'd go to 4 Mile, and again we would share a wetsuit and a surfboard. Because nobody had any money, and that's what we did. And eventually got my first hout, really dug hout.
First surfboard was a dug hout?
First surfboard was a dug hout, and I remember.
What was that board?
It was like a 7.0 or 7.4, I can't remember.
Single fin?
Single fin, yes, it was a single fin. And it was, I remember I broke the back end of it because once we started doing that, I wanted to surf more. Well, I didn't have a car. So I'd take the fucking Perlis buses out of Los Gatos. So you take a bus down to Los Gatos, then you grab your surfboard, you stick it in the thing, and you jump on the bus, and it drops you off downtown. Then you get out and you walk to the fucking lane. Like a big coupe. It was. I mean, no doubt, man.
The boys were
real.
like, who's that guy?
Well, probably. Well, I was...
Who cares? You're stoked.
Well, I would avoid all that, right? I was trying to... I didn't want to get yelled at. But, then we would surf, and I remember the one time it was good. It was good out there. I wasn't surfing very much. Not well or whatever, It was just, I remember I got slammed on the rocks because before they had this where the statue's at, you just cruise down the rocks, and now they have stairs, right? And so I remember I was waiting, I got slammed, and it broke the fin and that whole section off my board. And I remember I paddled out. I didn't know it. Paddle all the way out. Yeah.
You didn't have piece of your board? So you made it into a shortboard?
I made it, and I was like, fuck.
Glass the end of it and put
so I went all the way over from over the hill to go surfing, and ended up not even being able to surf. But anyways.
So you fixed it?
God, no. I don't know if we fixed it or not. That was way back then. That was gone. That piece was gone.
Right. Just glue the glass of fin on the thin end of it?
It's gone. Everything. Yeah. And there's no leash.
How many dugouts have you had in your life?
That's a good question.
Probably half a dozen at least. Yeah, at least a half a dozen.
Because he was my go-to from 1980 to 1985.
Yeah.
Super go-to.
Well,
currently I have 4, I think.
Oh, still?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have M10s now, and got a couple of Noes, Buck Noe boards.
Wow.
I got a longboard shaped for me from Buck. Still, only surfed a couple times.
Rest in peace to him.
Yes, rest in peace to him. God bless him.
And Rick too. And, what's really
Those
interesting.
are pioneers. Those guys were pioneers. I mean, in my opinion. I mean, in Doug House, like God, right? But I mean, you're talking hardcore, rowdy, just.
No, Rick, I got boards from Rick.
Yeah.
They were the no dice boards with the gorilla face on there, with 18 channels, 6 coming off the tail and 6 more going through the board, right. Twin fins. But I feel like the Rick and Buck don't get the credit they deserve sometimes.
No.
I think
they don't.
They really don't. And oftentimes we've been doing this show. We have over 1,000 shows, and we've talked about surfboards on hundreds of those shows. And I just feel like those two don't get a lot of the recognition. Now, they were both wild men.
That's what that's how I was raised.
What was mom's name?
That's
She
how
did
it was.
pinstripe. What was his mom's name?
He did all of the artwork.
Yeah, she was a
Yeah.
pin line master.
Yeah.
I will remember that. I
Carol?
worked. No,
No.
I worked with her at Freeline, and she was amazing. One take wonder. Anyone who knows, and I'll remember. She would come in and knock out pin lines like they were butter. She would just the perfect amount of ink, the perfect amount of resin, and she would draw pin lines like you wouldn't believe.
Wow.
And that was Rick's wife, Laura Newey.
Laura.
Laura. She was amazing, and
She moved to Hawaii. I think.
and when I first started building surfboards, I would just be in awe of her ability.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there were. I
There's
feel
several,
like those
I mean-
guys don't get the credit they deserve.
Yeah, you got JD, then you've got is it Bobby Ledesma, another guy
Yeah,
who
yeah.
shapes
And
all the kids in town.
Bobby helps a lot of kids.
in
Yeah,
town.
I
He's
know.
done
I give him a lot of credit
really
for
good.
that.
He shapes out of on my property too now.
Oh, he
So,
does?
Yeah, so it's good to I get to chat with him, and the kids come over and they're super stoked and excited to go shape with him.
Yeah. That's
You know, we
cool.
recently
Draw
had
boards
somebody on the show, one of the kids, because we get a lot of kids on here too.
Yeah.
And recently we had a kid, and he goes, "Yeah, Bobby gave me a surfboard."
Yeah, Bobby gave me several surfboards.
right.
Yeah,
Amazing.
he's one of those guys. Yeah,
And a painter.
he
If
painted
you need,
that,
your house painted,
all painted, all
Yeah.
There's a
paints
guy
all
we should
my
have to
stuff.
on the show.
yeah, call Bobby. He'll
Call Bobby. He'll paint.
And
stuff.
who got you your first skateboard?
Oh, believe it or not, I bought it at my first skateboard, like the plastic
well,
fantastic type
like,
of stuff.
your first good skateboard, maybe. Like
Santa Cruz. It was a Santa Cruz, and it was I think it was an Alva. I think it was a Tony Alva.
Tony Alva,
back in the
Alva,
day.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my that was the one.
The first.
I mean, then
when
they
you were
had-
riding
that was
Winchester.
the one that was kind of yes. That
You know
was
what's amazing is in the front window, I
That's-
have my
there is-
Alva that I rode when I was skating at Winchester.
Yeah.
It's in the window of the shop here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it was an Alva.
God, that was several years ago.
When you broke your arm in Winchester, was that kind of the end of skateboarding for you?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it kind of like transferred because I was going from, it was like right before high school. So it happened in the summer of 78, right before I started high school. And so I transferred and just started surfing, just really started surfing and liking it. And so I broke my arm, and then that was the big old deal, right? Because it was all, bone stuck out, the whole 9 yards. It was a scene. And so I just went around for like almost all of my freshman year in a cast, and so
Good times.
good times. Well, these have kept me from getting freaking hassled by all the seniors.
Well, it's kind of a weapon too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I skated around. I tried to do skate the ramps and stuff, and kept re-injuring my arm. So that was a pain in the butt. But now I just got back into surfing. That's when really the surfing thing started taking off, and then I delved into other parts of partying and stuff like that. I mean, I don't do that
You mentioned the
anymore.
hole in the wall. You mentioned the hole.
Well,
in the
yeah, I drank there a few times. Yeah. What the heck was the name? What was it? Why am I having a brain fart right now?
Where's it at?
Oh, it was right here. They took it down.
The Hurry Back In.
Hurry back in.
Hurry Back In.
I dated a girl
Yeah.
who's a bartender there.
Yeah, it's the only bar that you could pee at the bar stool and get away with
Pretty
it.
much. They had their own mugs. there,
Like
man.
literally, you
They had their own mugs. And
Yeah.
you go in
You
there,
feel the
yeah.
bar stool?
Yeah, you can just pee right there at the
Oh,
bar
yeah.
stool.
You
Like,
don't walk out-
totally
walk
cool.
out the back or whatever.
No problem.
Yeah, so and then I remember surfing. So the 80s was pretty heavy, and surfing in Santa Cruz during the 80s, especially if you're not from here, right, was not easy to do. And you really, in my opinion, speaking from the person who get rocks thrown at them at the lane and get heckled and hassled nonstop, man, no matter where you were, and that's just the way it was back then.
Well,
it
you
doesn't
wanna know
happen
why?
like
I'll
that
tell you
anymore.
why. It was pre-cell phones,
Oh yeah, it was pre-everything. No, you didn't-
pre-cameras. No one knew. You got your lumps.
Exactly. You got your lumps, and
Yeah.
you fought, and you if you wanted to surf, you had to fight your way into it, and you ended up like if you surf, like obviously Vince Carter was the man back then, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't surf the lane. Like if you surf in Middle Peak, I paddled out there, and I not knowing any better, I just paddled out there like, oh hey, what's up? Nobody's out there, just this one guy. He just looked at me and goes, "No, get out of here," just like that. And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I kept surfing behind him, and I just kept my distance. And eventually he turned around and told me, go. And I'll never forget that. He told me, go. And I fucking caught the wave and ate it, but it didn't matter. Because
That's
that was
amazing.
And that was amazing in itself. And I'll never
Vince?
forget that. Yeah. And I'll never forget that because again, Wally Wiedemeyer, for some reason, he had it for me. He heckled me from every time he saw me.
Wally did?
Oh yeah, just freaking nonstop. Hey, those back at him with Portolas and surfing my first pair of Ugg boots
right,
was
yeah.
from Portola Surf
yeah,
Shop,
no,
right?
I was that
and I
guy
just got
too.
him with the little thing on the back, and I thought it was
Sweatpants
cool.
and Ugg boots.
Yeah, exactly. And I walk up to the lane, and they're the boys, right? And I'm like, oh fuck, okay, there's Wally. Oh shit. All right, well I want to check the surf, so I kind of sneak around because the boys are there, and I'm like, and he go, hey, I'm like, fuck. Hey you, those are my Ugg boots.
Oh shit!
You got my Ugg boots on, take those off. I'm like, fuck, I'm fucking out of here. I just turned around and left, man. Those guys were gnarly, man. And you had to earn your way. I mean,
How did you know that you had earned your way? What was like the finish line of your? Or
I don't know if I've had my way. I think I just fucking was one of those persistent guys that never stopped. I just kept surfing, and I didn't bring
Stick
anybody.
around long enough.
I always surf by myself. I don't like take a crew with me. It was none of that stuff, and I just would show up and surf and catch waves, and be respectful of the locals.
Yeah.
Always surfing. Don't go pile out in the middle and think you can get it. Because
Who'd you fight with? Was there somebody you got in a fight with?
Not really. I mean, I partied my way a little bit in there. So all the West Side boys, I kind of ran.
You brought party gifts.
I played. I ran into that.
It works.
And some of the boys kind of took me in, like Arthur Deans and may he rest in peace as well. We ran together for a minute, and I was in lockup with another cat.
Roundtree?
Yeah.
Spencer?
Spinny. Yeah, exactly. And so we kind of hooked up in Roundtree, and we were talking surf, and then unfortunately, he got moved out, and I went somewhere else. And then I see him on the outside every now and then, and we'd surf together, but nothing crazy. But that's how I kind of got in a little bit, and went to the West Side parties. Were off the hook. And that's kind of how it rolled. And we just, I don't want to get too much deep into the whole scene.
Well, and strength
but
of numbers.
the
You
reality
get
is,
one or two of those guys on your side during that time. It really helped out.
well, it's about trust, right? It's built around trust and respect. And what ended up happening is they can respect and trust me that I wasn't going to be that guy,
Yeah.
And that evolved into me being able to surf Stockton Avenue, for example. There's not a lot of people that have that opportunity. And granted,
Weasel Reef.
well, whatever. But it's like, I to this day, just last season, I would go up there and there's like 5 or 6 of the boys out there. I'll stand down. I don't need to go surf. That's their spot, man. It's all you. If I have the opportunity, I'm grateful. I can go surf that spot because it's freaking amazing.
No, absolutely.
And I've never, so far, I haven't had to be heckled or yelled at or screamed. I just mind my business and respect everybody. And that's the key, and that's so unfortunate about what's happening nowadays. And luckily, all the kids coming up these days, in my opinion, have kind of are understanding that a little bit. You guys just had them on with the Pat Taylors, all those guys. I mean,
Right.
Pat
Yeah.
and Seth.
Yeah, no, Seth's amazing.
And those guys are just train their kids right, man. So they're all respectful and kind.
I feel like there's a very strong crew of 2nd and 3rd generation groms right now that have a solid parenting of surf knowledge. And
Absolutely,
there's a lot of that.
exactly
There's a lot of that going on
Yeah.
locally,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's
Like more Coffee's kids. And
yeah. There's
Super good kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Amazing
they're really good
surfers.
kids, and even like Doug Banks' kids, like there's really good kids that are out there shredding, and I feel like the scholastic system is helping with the surf team etiquette,
Etiquette's huge.
and that respect part.
It's about respect, and I think that's that's teachable at home. It's a different situation when you're in the water, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't. There's certain things you just don't do. You know, and being raised around that, you have bumper guards, right? Where you kind of go out and then somebody kind of you do something. Somebody's like, hey, you know, back in the old days it would be a little tap, you know, or splash or a dunk.
Right.
Most of it was a dunk, right? You just take them and just. And
Yeah,
then that
no,
was
it's,
that, and then
well,
you got hung.
or break your fins off or bite through the board.
There's some of those.
I've actually literally have watched
Or get
people
slapped.
take a bite out of a board and break all 3 fins off.
I've been
Then
involved in that.
Yeah, you don't see that as much because there's a camera on the lineup. You
There's
know,
a camera on the lineup, and then everybody's telling on everybody, and so that's
Yeah,
the whole deal.
it's changed.
And it's changed, and you
We-
know, I'm guilty of that.
Be lucky to have witnessed the Wild West.
It was
surfing.
Would
absolutely.
you prefer the wild if you
Yes.
came back in
Yes,
second line?
all day.
You want the Wild West, the Wild West, or
No, Wild West all day
you want the
long.
Wild West?
Well, then the difference is nowadays the Wild West, you got called out for your shit, and like you said, you paddled away.
Or you fought.
Today, you say, "I'm gonna sue you."
Well, that's
You know,
the
it's-
problem with all that.
I'm
See,
just playing with Mike.
yeah,
I'm making the canvas look good. Right there, good.
absolutely.
Good.
It's the wow. I love that. 'Cause I've been involved in that situation too, where people were disrespectful and they get. You know, I was told, slap them, don't punch them. That's what I was told. And so that's what would happen.
Right.
You would just go up and slap them. You know, and that was, I mean, not to be, I don't advocate that, but
Right. Right.
I was a little mouthy.
You have to
were
do it.
that
No,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah,
I mean,
it-
that's what happened, and that's what happened.
One of my best moments ever was one day a very young Jeremy Scribner yelled at me at Sewer Peak, and he dropped in on me. Rest in peace, Jeremy Scribner.
Mm-hmm.
But as he was yelling at me, I was like, "Hold on a second, you're really good at being mouthy," and it just diffused the whole situation. He got confused. He didn't
Yeah.
know what I was talking about. I was like, "I was just like you," you know. And it's funny how
Well, that was like
that was
Wally with me. The same situation. It took probably, I would say, into the mid '90s before he like did this thing, and
Yeah.
acknowledged me.
Yeah.
And that was huge because that I have a lot of respect for those guys.
Yeah.
Wally is. I was Wally's stunt double polisher,
Oh wow.
so he could go to Hawaii because a lot of the reason Santa Cruz has such a close tie to Hawaii is because Wally went to Hawaii,
Oh okay.
and then Richie went, and everybody went. BC went, and it opened the door. But when he was gone, I had to go
You
to the
feel
house shop
silly.
and polish surfboards, and so he could go and pave that way. But Wally was a sweetheart, you know, and he's the only one who had his own parking spot at the lane.
It's only it's it. Yeah, exactly.
And if you parked
no.
one day I just pulled up and I was just checking the waves, and I look in my mirror and there's a car like a half an inch off my bumper, and there's Wally sitting there.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit! I fucking
Out of there. Yeah.
Out of there.
exactly.
That's
Yep.
that was the vibe that he had.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. There's.
How many boards in your quiver right now, Michael?
Well, I probably have about 40.
40 boards in
30
your
to
quiver.
40 boards are in the barn and in one of my sheds, and I
And-
had to
and-
get them out of the house because that ends up being a divorce
So,
too.
so if there's a fire and you can grab one, which one would you grab?
Ooh,
Oh my gosh!
You can only take one surfboard out of the 40.
Oh, that's messed up.
that's not fair.
Well, I mean, it's kind of was it Sophie's Choice or something? But
Yeah. Oh
not
man,
fair.
there's and I'm gonna Joey Thomas.
oh,
Yeah, Joey
Okay,
Thomas.
yeah.
He has 7.0. Joey Thomas. I think I surfed it twice. 4-fin. Mm-hmm. You know, that would grab that one. Yeah.
awesome!
I have
Great
a lot. I
choice.
mean, I have a lot. I have the no-eat boards. I got the M10s.
Wow.
I've got the Houts. I got some older. I got a MR twin
Oh.
fin from the 70s.
Wow!
An MR twin fin in the 70s, and then
Wow.
I surfed that in the back when they had the
The-
old no cord classic, the no cord.
No, but the No Cord Classic. But they also do the. I have a poster around here.
Yeah.
It's the one that
Oh,
the Shroud, not Shroud. It's,
Not the Schwab fast.
no leash,
No chord
No,
classic.
but the old boards.
Yeah, it's
The
all
one you had
old.
to-
The log jam.
No, it wasn't log jam.
No.
It was
Yo something.
It's a bunch of old guys forgetting everything.
I know. God. I have all those posters. No, because I did every no chord classic.
Those were fun.
I have a stack of green T-shirts that my wife.
You're a
I
collector.
saved. I do.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
love
wish I would have
collecting.
collected. Like, I got rid of all my albums. I had all these albums from, like, my first album. What was your first album?
Jeff Beck, Wired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine was Boston.
Okay, that's a good one too.
Boston
Yeah.
album, and then I got Zoso Zeppelin.
Yeah, when I first moved to Santa Cruz, I lived off my record collection.
Yeah.
I the Bamboo, the little record store in Capitola was called Bamboo. I would go there every day and sell like 3 records. I'd go to Opeltiff's Market and buy a. They used to sell a
Opeltiff's
sourdough
Market. Oh
roll.
my God.
I'd get 2 slices of bacon out of the meat case and 1 avocado, and I would sell 2 records
No
and have
way.
dinner. I
That's
swear to
awesome.
You
God.
spent a little time at Open Fist Market?
This couple. Yeah.
Or Blue Rhythm Records. It was in Capitola.
God.
Yeah. Anyways, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
My wife forever heckled me for collecting everything, and now she's like, "Wow, that's worth a lot of money."
Right?
Now. Smart move.
It's funny when you say that.
Yeah.
It's funny because similar to we used to buy 45s in Watsonville, and then we would go do that and do the 45. We were too poor to buy an album. Just kidding. But I mean, 45s were big back then, and we had the big thing record player there, and turn it on real loud, and wash your car on the lawn. The whole thing. It was awesome.
I was just talking to my wife last night because we were on YouTube and we were exploring music, and I was like, it's so weird. When I was a kid, the only way to hear music was you had to buy the record.
That's right.
And now it's on your. You get the
it's
hits
everywhere.
of seconds. I'm watching YouTube, a brand new music.
Yeah.
It's so different.
How about MTV when it first came out?
yeah,
I thought that
MTV.
was
Togos?
Well, we
used to go watch it at Togos.
Togos?
They were the first
we
ones.
have pirate ships. They'd be up, a mile offside out in the
Pirate radio.
Pirate radio.
Pirate radio,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. They'd be playing all the in the middle of the night, and you could signals. It was terrible signal, but it was rock and roll.
Oh, wow, that was a blast.
3 o'clock in the
That was
morning.
fun.
We'll ask you this, and I know
Yeah, sure.
the answer already. Your favorite decade surfing and why?
Probably the 90s or whatever.
90s?
Yeah, I like. the
Okay,
90s.
I thought it was going to be
Yeah.
your earlier years, because for most people that were in Santa Cruz in the 80s, normally
It was
the 80s comes up.
well when you were talking about like not that many people surfing and stuff like that. Yeah, probably the
No
80s.
longboards.
But getting into the 90s and then living on the west side and trying to get in with that scene and being able to surf and go to and do that was fun.
Yeah.
Unfortunately I kind of I got in trouble, so I had to leave town. So just doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
Trying to hustle my way through Santa Cruz and work as a carpenter. I mean that's how I ended up I started my business in '98, framing. And I did it just so I can make some money and surf. That's it. And
That's why everyone's
I didn't
here.
want anything else. I didn't want to have a major business. I just wanted to tweak around and go surf when the waves are good. And that's it. It turned into be a lifelong career. Where it ended up actually working out for the most part.
Yeah.
And you're still dropping
I'm
the bags when the swell's pumping?
I get to point fingers a little more.
Okay.
And yeah, I get to not be there right 8 o'clock in the morning if it's work.
Well, it's funny
It's worth
because
it.
in Santa Cruz, historically, carpenters, what's great is wintertime when the waves are the best in Santa Cruz. The weather's a little
Weather's a little
shady,
off and on,
the
yeah.
job site's a little wet.
You would have loved working for me because surfers that worked for me, we would be here. Tomorrow's going to be good. So why don't we meet at 9 on the job?
Yeah.
Right? Let's go 9 a.m. We'll just work a little bit later.
Yeah.
And so we'd either go and surf in the morning or whatever.
Yeah. That's a dreamy setup for a surfer.
Yeah,
For
that's
sure.
the whole thing.
Is there a favorite day of surfing that you have in the back of your head?
A favorite day?
Yeah.
We've asked people this. and they-
Mondays.
No,
Probably
no,
Mondays.
but a day.
Day?
Is
Oh.
there a
Yeah.
day in your life? Because we've
I got
asked this.
several of those.
Well, we've asked people, and they do remember. Oftentimes,
I
they bring
surfed
up a day.
Scotts Creek, hardly anybody out, and it was this weird swell where it wasn't big, maybe head high, maybe a little overhead every now and then, but it was punchy, and it was barreling, and it wasn't in the same spot all the time. It was over here, but it was off the reef. It was amazing. It was kind of a gloomy day. It
Yeah.
wasn't sunny by any means, but there's no wind. It was awesome.
Wow.
That was one of the days. 4 Mile.
Well, that's one of my favorite. A Scotts Creek day with a high-speed swell. When the swells travel fast because they travel different speeds. Mm-hmm. Scotts loves a high-speed swell. Mm. If you think about that, yeah.
I know.
Okay, so second biggest day. So Scott, number one. Second favorite day.
Man, well, there's been Sewers, First Peak. I mean, on Big Souths. Probably 4 Mile. There's a couple days in 4 Mile when I was younger, when it was big, like 10 foot plus, and it would be breaking outside, and it used to be closing out the whole thing. There would be nobody out, but every now and then in between there'd be like a set or a few waves that were, and I've gotten some that were like beyond, like around the corner, and where you take off and you make it all the way through the inside. Those are that doesn't happen very often, but those were some of the bigger days, some of those nicer days. That was, and there's not a lot of guys out back then. This is again 90s probably, mid 90s.
How do you feel about we see surf shops are closing, closing down, the businesses as it used to be, but yet we've got 10 times more surfers than we had before. Does that bother you at all?
10 times more surfers bothers me. Yeah. It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't. It wouldn't be so bad the amount of surfers if it's just the type of people they were. They're just not. Just kind of like .comers who've got some money and buy a house in Point and become a local. You know the scene, and then they run around and they threaten to sue you if you yell at them. And I just got ran into just the other day, and I was just literally on the inside of Second Peak. I just had shoulder surgery, so it was like 2.5 months plus, and I thought, I'm just going to go out because I'm stupid, right? I think I'm going to go out and try to catch a wave, just paddle, and because 2 months, 2.5 months, right? And so I unfortunately I dinged Pat Taylor's board he made me. So anyways, I paddle out, I get a couple small waves, no big deal. I'm just trying to get everything back to normal. And I'm out. I did a half an hour. I'm literally on just kind of trying to get in, and somebody just runs right into me. I was just like,
they don't know.
I mean, just like, and I didn't even
Yeah.
I had to and then just go in, because I didn't even look at the guy. I just kept going. I knew it was ding. If I saw him and he said something stupid, then whatever. But
then next thing you know, you're going viral. Right back into the 80s.
You're right back into that scene where you slap. Yeah, the whole thing is not good.
You surfing tomorrow? It's kind of small right now.
I'm gonna probably, because I got just 3 months now with my shoulder surgery. I'm on my paddleboard, my bark paddleboard. So I've been paddling from Capitola to the Point, and that's about it for me. I was talking to him about that, and about that. Is that if I paddle my longboard, I'm going to want to catch waves.
Right.
So if I do it with my bark,
and it's kind of cool because I have a business, Capitola Village. There's a half dozen guys who paddle every day.
Every day.
Yeah. It's really cool to see. There are a good group of dudes. If you have an interest in paddling, every morning there's a group of dudes who show up and they chase each other up to the Point and back, and it's cool to see. So
it is. It's nice.
Yeah, it's and Joe Bark, a legend.
A legend.
A legend, Joe Bark.
What's happening with Moriarty?
I don't know. I don't honestly. I worked every J race as a boat driver.
Okay.
And I'm sad to see.
Just
Randy took over on it, and then C-Trans, his whole program's gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. It's great that you bring that up. I've heard nothing. It's summer. Where's the J race?
Usually right about
now.
Or just
it's a lot of work.
It should have been last week. It's normally June 21st or June 20th.
It's probably costly because of permits.
Probably.
Insurance.
Insurance.
Putting on a contest.
Hey, in my life, I have saved 4 people from drowning at the J race, personally.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 people. I found one person unconscious at Mile Buoy.
Heart attack?
No, hypothermia.
Huh.
They flew in from Hawaii the night before and decided they were going to paddle the J race. Then it was windy, and they were in trunks. and they
Brutal.
slowed down, and I was the chase boat, and I was following the slowest paddler, who luckily I got in the boat because she was hypothermia, and then we sped up the line, and we found a guy at Mile Buoy leaning over his board sideways, violently shaking.
Oh, that's so
And
brutal.
we didn't have a blanket on the boat, and I was like the lifeguard boat, and so we
Ugh.
just hugged him,
Yeah.
and hauled ass into the harbor, called, had the ambulance waiting, and took him in. But
Gnarly.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the J race is I'm sad that there's not a J race.
Yeah.
It would have been last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting deal.
Yeah.
And do you have a memory of Jay?
Not a big one, no, because he was a little bit younger than me. So I remember him. I remember him surfing up north. I remember surfing with him watching him take off on his longboard, going freaking left. He was amazing. That's what I remember of him. So I didn't have a lot of interaction with him. He's a little bit younger than I was.
Did you surf at Maps at all? Did you ever?
No, I there was a time I was going to go. It was like 95 or 6. No, I'm sorry, that's not correct. I was living on 38th. I think it was 2005, and I was going to go, and we were going to go that morning. I remember that, and he called me. He goes, I'm not going to go. I'm like, okay. And that was that. My wife at the time wanted me to kick out like life insurance and all that stuff. So I never did that. I just surfed Scots and surfed out a couple.
If you took out life insurance, she's like,
Double-
go surf
Double
bass.
identity. She wanted me to take like a double whatever, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you make sure you take, because you're a freaking moron.
And she's
You know?
waxing your board
Yeah.
and driving you up there.
With soap. Yeah. She's waxing with soap.
Get out there!
He was so.
Bye. Yeah. That's a whole different species to me, man. I surfed fairly large waves at Scott's, and I couldn't imagine.
They can
whole
have
scene.
it.
God bless them, and they're, my hat's way off on that,
In fact, last night I watched Allo.
Yeah.
ESPN last
saw
night
that, yeah.
ran a story on Allo last night on the 100-foot wave.
That's crazy.
That was
That is
awesome, and congrats
crazy.
Allo on that. 'cause
Yeah.
That's worldwide. That ESPN ran that story last night.
Did he got the world? Did he get the
They're
world?
still
They're
measuring.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
I thought for sure he was on that.
But there was an independent dude who measured the
Frank Karaki. Who's going
Yeah,
to be
Frank.
Frank,
We have Frank coming
in a
on.
month.
Yeah, we'll have
Yeah,
Frank on
that's
the
a good
show,
one.
and we're gonna hear everything about that,
Right.
Which will be great. But yeah, so we'll see. Because the
Yeah.
Portugal wave, it was 88 feet, and Allo's wave, they say maybe 100. So we'll
it looks
see.
like it to me when you look at it. So I'm all for that.
It's over
Yeah.
30. I'll give him
Yeah.
that.
No, yeah, definitely not. Those guys are just, and then people doing them just wasted too.
Yeah.
I don't
He
even-
would have.
I don't even understand that
If
part.
he hadn't made that wave, he would have died. I would imagine he would have died.
Allo?
Yeah.
No, he's
Yeah,
tough.
he's a tough
He
kid.
would
He bounced off the bottom
He's
and
like tough.
grabbed
They
his
would've-
board and paddled back out.
No.
They would have rescued
Yeah.
him for sure, but
He's
that was
tough. Yeah, I think no. He's young and tough. I think he would have survived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So?
for sure.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, he would have survived.
I'm all for that for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it would have been fun.
Definitely.
Anybody you want to thank before we finish up the show tonight? Anyone in your life that you'd like to say hi to?
Your boy.
Wow. Well, my son Eddie. Yeah, I had a boy.
How
when
old's
I-
Eddie?
Eddie's 5. He's gonna be 6.
Just caught his
September.
first wave at privates.
Just got his first wave at privates.
All right, so how rad is it surfing with your son on his first wave?
You know what? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I am like beyond, like, I got a second chance in life, right? Because I partied my brains out and I was a complete moron. And I was able to get clean and like do the deal and have this beautiful kid in my life. And, my daughter, I get surfing with my daughters. Neil and I were talking about that
Yeah.
before. I coached at
SoCal High.
SoCal High and
New Brighton. I think.
New Brighton
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and to have that happen again, to get a second opportunity with him. Is
Lucky. You're a lucky man.
I'm lucky, and
Yeah.
and fortunately for me, I mean, I've had a series of a couple of bad marriages, as people who know me heard of that one before, but I like. I was
I think
telling.
we should have a divorce show too.
We should.
We
We
might
should.
have to.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I can give you some advice on that one, unfortunately. But by the grace of God, and I completely found a lady that was just blew my mind, and who has accepted me for who I am, and has been a mom to my boy. Like,
Awesome.
Give a round of applause to her.
right?
What's her name?
I mean, Kelly
Kelly.
Castro.
Is Kelly watching?
Me, I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. She's
Well,
probably
Kelly, if you are,
she's with my son. She's with this Eddie right now. So.
And does Eddie have a board?
Eddie's got several.
Okay, all right. So
He's got a boogie board. He's got a long board. He's dialed.
He's dialed.
He's dialed.
Plus, he could probably take any of your 40 if he wants.
Whatever he
right?
wants. Yeah, for the most part.
That is so awesome.
Except the JT board.
Well, I'm sure.
No, I got some of those buried away. Those aren't coming out. And those are sticking around. Yeah.
Well,
I
tried.
tried. I took the JT board out at the lane 5 years ago. It was a pretty good sized day. Took out the middle peak and surfed a couple waves. It was nice. I mean, I don't want to surf because I don't want to ding it.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's like,
perfect.
And it's funny. Kevin Reed, another guy
Right.
we were talking about. Kevin Reed. There's another. I mean, God bless him. Like that guy gets a lot of kudos. And I, fortunately was partied with that guy, and we hung out at 4 Mile, and he's a nutty nut. But he had a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Like a full-on heart of gold.
Yeah.
And
surfer.
he would do anything
Well,
for
and
me. He was throwing airs at 4 Mile nonstop. I mean, it was just crazy.
For
Taking
anybody.
off the rock. Yeah, I never really understood that, this whole down south stuff, and like, they got airs down there, but I always thought Kevin was the one. They didn't even know how to judge him.
Right.
Like, how do you even judge this guy doing airs?
They wouldn't judge it.
Yeah.
I saw him do an air at Anyo before first air I ever saw was Kevin Reed at Anyo.
Right.
And I thought he fell. And then he surfed. I thought it was a wipeout. I didn't know
Twin
what he was
fins?
doing. Yeah.
Twin fin.
It was on a single fin.
It was on a single fin?
Yeah, he did an air on a single fin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Kevin Reed doesn't get the credit.
That does
he
not
deserves.
get the credit.
Yeah,
He deserves
and,
that 100%.
Because he kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And
That was his own fault, though. A little bit of his own fault.
Well,
there.
sure, but
Right.
but
But
he's
we
in the
all
he is in the Hall of Fame of skateboarding.
Yeah, he made that.
Yeah,
just recently.
and that is well deserved.
And I'll say this real quick. Just we all kind of run our gamut, and some of us do go to some places, man, that are really difficult, right? And some of us make it out, right? And we continue to thrive and do well by community and society. Some of us try to take that second road, man, where we just can't deal with life. We got to go do our thing.
Don't let that go.
And God bless them. I've been there. I can say I've been to that part, and I was able to get out of it, and I was able to kind of look back, and now we're able to kind of like see that and provide some kind of knowledge around that for others who are going through some messed up times, man. Whether it's divorce, no doubt, right? Because obviously, unfortunately for me, that's happened more than once, right? And being under the being loaded and trying to raise a family and running that whole gamut, like I get it.
Yeah.
And if that's where you're at, man, I got your back. There's no worries.
Yeah.
I think nobody should give up.
No. Don't give up.
Yeah,
man.
that's the most important
Especially when
message.
you got kids. Especially when you got a 5-year-old looking up to you.
I mean, that's like that doesn't. How many times does that happen, right? Where you get a second chance, unless you're taking care of your kid's kid.
You're gonna get lucky.
In your case, you got Eddie to remind you every day
Every day.
how rad your life is.
Well, and that or like how my personality comes back to me with that. Like what?
Is he doing that already?
Yeah.
He's starting to flare up a little bit.
He's good at that.
All right, so he'll take on VC at the lane, no
I
problem,
don't know
right?
about that. No, I don't know.
A little
None
fired
of
up.
that, man. I got a board shaped by VC way back when he was shaping boards. Remember that? Back
Oh
then?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember at the lane, I surfing his board, I got pushed into the rocks, so my board ended up going into the rocks, and I go up there, and it's just got barnacles and shit. I'm like, oh, frick, And so he was sitting over there, and I'm like, hey, Vince, come on. So he took me to his house, and cleaned it all up, and he says, yeah, come back in a couple days, I'll have this for you. And he redid it again, came back, picked it up, didn't charge me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was that.
Yeah.
One of a kind, VC was.
He was.
Yeah.
We were lucky to have him on the show. And all I can remember is his billowing laugh.
Well, one of our favorite shows was Point Break Live, where he read. It was a play in San Francisco. And he was, who was he? He was
What's the guy's name?
Oh God,
Come on.
the main character.
Yeah.
Busey.
Gary.
He was Gary
That's
Busey.
perfect.
Surfers!
He's perfect.
Yeah, he was the perfect. He did Gary Busey better than Gary Busey.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
No, and that's we should post that.
I got that on my phone.
We'll post that tonight.
Yeah.
But he does Gary Busey. Surfers. Surfers! Like
He's with Buell. Buell's reading.
he was so good.
Buell had Buell.
God.
Buell's got sunglasses on. He's reading, and Vince is reading. It was freaking.
That's good.
Yeah,
That was
good
good.
stuff. Michael, thanks for coming on the
Thank
show.
you. Yeah, thank
Seriously,
you guys.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Folks,
Thanks for your
Michael
honesty.
Castro, good stories tonight.
Thank you. Thanks,
Love
guys.
that. Neil, next week we have
Bill Martin from KTVU.
KTVU
Is it
News
Take
in
TV?
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Long time, lifelong surfer, the Channel 2's weather
Meteorology.
guy forever. And we'll get some great stuff out of him next week for sure. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week on the Off Lip Radio Show. Michael Castro in the house tonight.
Thank you, guys.
I want to thank
Great
T
stuff.
Fox. T Fox from Sandbar Solar.
Yes, T
I want to thank
Fox.
T Fox. Thank you so much, buddy, for
Yeah, Sandbar Solar. If you need solar, look up for those guys. And T Fox letting us be on Santa Cruz Waves is awesome. Good night, everybody.
Right on.
We'll see you next week on the Off Lip Radio Show.
Wait 1 second.
Boom,
Don't
boom,
go.
boom.
Oh, in the house, Christian from Cheese Wax.
Yeah, we got the wax right here.
What we got here? What we got?
Little trees wax.
Yeah.
All the guests on Off the Lip Radio Show get some wax.
Yeah.
Stickiest
You
wax
got new
around.
packaging coming out of here. Something
We
new.
do, yeah. We got some new packaging, some boxes, some fresh boxes coming out.
And this
so
stuff's good for the environment, right?
It's good for the environment. Yeah, good under your feet.
Okay.
Sticky.
Perfect.
That's sticky wax right there.
Sticky,
Everybody
man,
loves
yeah.
it.
Makes good bumps
Yeah.
right there.
It makes good bumps.
Makes good bumps.
Christian with his new haircut on the show tonight. Looking good, buddy.
He's got the good haircut going on.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.